Hello, everyone, and welcome to an interview episode of the SWW show. I'm Mike. Today I have with me two gentlemen where their Discord images, I feel like it's not what they actually look like in real life. So I'm going to have them introduce themselves. So if you guys can both tell me who you both are, what you work on, maybe where you're from.
Well, I am the lead designer on the game, so I just built all of the assets and kind of gave the game its general art direction that it's going in.
Yep. Hi, and I'm Chris Herbison. I'm sort of the lead programmer. I've set up the majority of the scripts on the game, as well as helping to integrate with some of the components with Len, as well as our level designer, and some of the audio integration as well.
Perfect. So I don't know if I said the game, I want to make sure I get the name right, is Straylight. Is that how you guys are pronouncing it?
Yes.
That's correct.
Perfect. I'm always half concerned. I'm like, this feels like a simple name, which means I'm easily going to mess it up.
Naturally.
So why don't we start with Len, since I think you said you're the lead designer, if you want to give us the quick elevator pitch for the game?
So it's a VR platformer where the basis of the game is to get from the beginning to the end and try not to die on your way through. That's pretty way of putting it. To elaborate on that, we incorporate obstacles in your way. We throw collector cubes in there for the completionists, and it's just a really pretty sci-fi landscape where your only goal is to not die.
So I have to ask the obvious, immediate virtual reality question. You're doing a platformer in VR. How is everyone not getting motion sick?
Well, that's I'm not sure if that's a trade secret. Chris, am I allowed to tell them?
Here, I can take the lead on that as well. You're certainly as much involved in dealing with that as I am, but so a lot of focus early on has been taken to try to minimize the amount of motion sickness and just general uncomfortable feelings that you get from the nature of having a VR platformer, especially one where you kind of move pretty fast in a lot of situations. At least that's the idea, is to kind of get a fluid, quick movement. So I'll let Len speak more to the visuals, or how we help that with the visuals, but definitely just a lot of logic in the scripts and such to keep it so there's no jerky movement, everything's smooth, and you don't really find yourself in a situation where you're out of control or have the simulation of falling, about to smack into something or something like that. Another thing that we kind of found out, which was pretty interesting, was initially we had sort of our earlier levels had more space you could land on, so like safe areas for difficulty reasons. But we quickly learned that actually increased the nausea that you get because it gives you a more realistic sensation of being in this world and feeling like you're actually falling down. So Len, did you want to speak some more visually? What sort of you've done to kind of get the minimalist, abstract visuals of?
Yeah, sure. So what early on we realized that as long as we had a ground to get sick, or we were going to almost fall over while we were playing the game. And so first things first, we removed the ground. And then, we figured out early on that we wanted it to be a platformer. And I was like, this is perfect. I'm going to build all these really cool platforms. And I just had tons and tons of platforms. And as we were playtesting the game, everyone was like, well, that's great, but we hate the platforms, pull them out. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's a platformer. We need platforms. So after realizing that they were right, I pulled everything. We just went to just open air in space. And then a really interesting thing happened with it where instead of feeling like you're flying through the level, which is, it's strange to say it that way because you still feel like you're flying through the level, but at the same time, your brain almost and lets you think that the level is also flying around you. So when you're pulling yourself through the level, there's almost the illusion that you're pulling the level or like past you instead of you pulling yourself through it. And I think that only having the nodes, which are the anchor points that you grapple onto, and then the checkpoints, and then everything else is just huge. Like we have these massive monuments, so they don't really move a whole lot until you get close to them, and just not having a bunch of small objects just constantly giving you a frame of reference, just having minimalist small things and then these massive things that don't move around all that much, just really lends itself to negating the motion sickness. And it's been one of the biggest victories on the project. We have people who will tell us that, I can only play VR for 10, 15 minutes before I get motion sick. I'm out of the game after 40 minutes, asking them how they're doing, and they didn't realize they'd been in there that long. So,
which I think immediately has to be some level of impressive, because I do a lot of virtual reality stuff and development or even experiencing, and it's like I'm of the obviously more immune type, where I think the biggest comment is always when you get people who are new to virtual reality who don't have any legs in there and they go, "Oh, I walk out fine," because I think those are the people that you have to watch out for immediately.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So I think looking at the game when I was first looking experiences, I think one of the interesting things that you guys shook with was the art style, which I think I gotta say, one of you really likes the rings from Sonic or from Superman 64, and I'm not sure which more.
I was waiting for Superman 64 to come out of this.
Actually, fun.
Go on.
What's funny is I didn't realize where a lot of the art direction was coming from, because classically when we first started out with it, I was thinking things like Tron and the color palette from what was that, the Far Cry spinoff, Blood Dragon? Yeah. Just like that iconic, like over the top 80s, and then that's just not where the game was going, and it started to evolve. But so I or the purples and the blues and some deeper reds and golds, and but as far as the actual way that everything looks, I realized that I accidentally pulled a lot from one of my favorite games growing up, which was Star Fox 64. So, the original Star Fox from the SNES, and then Star Fox 64, they always had that real blocky thing, and there were those levels where you just had to fly through the rings at super high speeds to try to get to the warp jumps to jump levels and things. And it wasn't until I was talking to a family member and they pointed that out to me that I was like, oh yeah, that probably is, just it's funny looking back over my life and seeing the little influences that manifested themselves in this game.
Which I just, again, that's great. I just, again, look at that, I thought it was really funny. I'm like, okay, so you guys really like Neptune, obviously, and you really like Super Mario, that game. So I think one of the interesting things of talking about when you work on virtual reality games, as a platform, is obviously there's this inherent limitation of the audience out there in both how many you have and then the understanding they have of how to use the platform just natively. And I'm curious, while you guys were running through testing, and either you can answer this, kind of the problems you immediately had of building just a platform or an experience that people understand natively without hand-holding them for hours.
Oh yeah, that's actually been a huge hurdle with this project. So a lot of VR titles out there tend to have tools that you use as the player that are very intuitive. So, for example, I'll just take Super Hot VR as a random example. You have a gun. When there's a gun in your hand in a game, you pretty much know what you're going to do with it. With our game, it's a lot more abstract than that. I mean, grappling hooks have been in video games since forever, but the specific way they work in our game isn't necessarily intuitive because a lot of it is focused around the hand motion. So one portion of that has been explain to the player just flat out how to use this, but that's obviously not optimal. So there's been things both in the way we're handling audio, which is actually still in progress to date, to try to give the player an idea of what's happening based on what they're doing with their hands to try to lead them towards what the optimal way to play is to get that maneuverability they're looking for, whether they want to go fast or keep it slow for a segment or something like that. Tied to that, the breaks that we have in the game also have been sort of a interesting journey in figuring out what the optimal way to handle those are. Because as you know, there's many different VR controllers and the buttons handle very differently on them. So through playtesting, we found that like different control configurations actually are a little more easy for, say, the Rift controllers versus the Vive wands. I can dig into that more if you'd like, but
Yeah, that makes sense because or obvious things of like I don't think I was to talk about anything like this. Like even like if some down the road you had like PSVRs of too, like all those controllers are so different of like how they fit in my hand. You're like at a certain point you're like what like we always talk about like VR as a platform, but fundamentally every VR headset, just even from what you're holding or seeing, is a different experience.
Yep, absolutely. It's very like splintered right now, which is good because I mean there's a lot of different experiences you can get out of the different types of controllers. But yeah, it's just an interesting like thing I haven't had to deal with in any of the casual game development I've done previously prior to this.
What is intriguing to me as looking through you guys' game and stuff too is that I want to talk about is this. So you guys are releasing into early access, and which is interesting to me because like just the nature of platformers. I'm curious how does that work in early access to you guys? Because of like to me a platform like certain things like live games in early access we all fundamentally understand, or builders we understand. I'm curious how like in a platformer do you guys what does that mean through early access and why?
Yeah, so I think a big portion of what led us to go with early access was like we have the game in a mostly finished state, but there's a lot of stuff that we wanted to add into it after the fact. And a lot of it's small polished things like, you know, adding in some more voice cues to the game so that the game has sort of a narrative going along with it rather than just a really lightly sprinkled thing put together. But also just some things that we technically don't need to sort of release this to people, but rather should have in the full version. So, for example, the cubes right now don't really do anything, and we'd like to flesh that out into actually unlocking some interesting and useful like features in the game, which we don't exactly know what form that might take yet, but yeah, I guess that is sort of an odd angle for how most people tend to do early access, but that's sort of how we got there.
Yeah, we just wanted to make sure that we left ourselves enough room for polishing the game after we got feedback, because we are an indie dev team. For a lot of us, this is the first like scale video game that we have worked on, and we've been working at it for 2 years, and we've learned a ton. And some of the most that we've learned has come from taking the game out and playtesting it at various conventions and things around the state, and just hearing people tell us what they think of the game and giving us ideas on how to better interact and how to best convey how to get that how to grasp the physics of the game.
Hello everyone and welcome to a special edition of the SWW show. It's me, AJ. I'm here with Peter and... Alright, here we go. My time to shine. Is it Dusan?
Yeah, Dushan.
Yes! Nailed it! They're the guys behind Ministry of Broadcast, a game out on Steam. A very interesting game in the sense that it takes place in a reality show. But it's not exactly what it seems. I will say, when I read the idea about it, I'm like, actually, that idea could be a whole game, because it reminds me of, I don't know if you ever played it, the, what was it, Professor Genki's stuff in Saints Row. I believe it was Saints Row 3 and 4. They had like a reality TV show that you competed on, and I'm like, that is a really interesting idea for a game. And
Yeah, we didn't play that one.
yeah,
Yeah, I ended up with Saints Row 2, so
Yeah.
So now here we are with a game where it's a reality show, and it looks really good. It's got the right style. It's I guess in a word pixel art, but it's so much more than that. It's not like true 8-bit where you've only got 8 colors. You guys have many more colors than that.
Yeah, but still limited color palette.
Yeah. Yeah, you only have what, probably 8 on screen at a time, but you have many more colors than that. So
No, it's 8 total.
oh, it's 8 total?
Yep.
Oh wow, then you guys do some
And shades. I mean, of course, if
Yeah.
you don't
Shades,
the
yeah.
darker version of blue, but yeah.
yeah, and then yeah. I've always just like, you would think somebody that has a background in TV could tell, like, oh, that's the same color, just a different darkness value. Nope, you got me.
Right? It's a reality show, so anything is possible.
I couldn't tell that the blues are pretty much all the same. It's just light and dark value. But we were quick talking before I started. You guys really like how the game turned out, especially how it plays. So why don't you guys quick talk about that? It's a very, very cool looking game.
Thank you.
Yeah, like, was obviously your the bio on it mentions 1984 and reality TV, but were like, what other inspirations, I guess, were there behind this?
Pete, do you want to, or?
yeah, sure. So the story originally was inspired by building of the Berlin Wall. Everybody thinks it's Trump's wall. You are from US?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you thought it's about Trump?
You know, there's a very distinct difference between the Berlin Wall and Trump's wall in the fact that the Berlin Wall actually got built.
It is.
It's true.
But when people hear about the wall, and if they are from US, they mostly think that, oh, it's Trump's wall. And when you say something like this in Europe, people immediately think of Berlin's wall. So this was like the biggest discrepancy we saw at the conferences. If it was European conference, everybody thought of Berlin, and in the US, people thought of Trump.
Yeah,
and in China,
people
people
actually,
would think, well, China.
Yeah, a lot of people were also talking about Brexit because it's the new thing.
Wow, that's a much deeper dive than I probably would have gone. Oh, the wall must be Brexit. That's deeper thinking than I would have gone. I would have gone, oh, it's a wall, so it's either Berlin because they actually did something and built a wall, or it's Spray Tan's idea of a mildly annoying fence.
Yeah, but basically our idea was to create only the feeling we have, and everybody could, based on his own experience, project what he thinks what the wall represents. So as we said, in each country it could be different wall. And we didn't say that it's any specific, we just created our own country. And it's set in any time, We don't say this is like from 80s, from 90s.
Yeah, it's the idea of secluding people is an idea that you can put in any time.
Exactly. It's pretty much universal. So this was the first inspiration for the story, and there are many more inspirations, like regarding the controls, which is the most controversial topic. Is, for example, Prince of Persia from 1989.
Oh boy, that's
And yeah, it's the
that's the
sliding
original.
one, if you remember that.
It's the original Prince of Persia. Before you mentioned the year, I'm like, okay, Prince of Persia. That was on the PS1 or 2. Still before when I really got into games. So yeah, the '89 Prince of Persia was 6 years before I was born. So
Yeah, it's pretty old. And there are more games like this back then. The genre was called cinematic platformers, and among them there was Flashback or Another World, or we were inspired also by Oddworld. Have you played any of those?
Oddworld. Okay, I've heard of it. I've played Abe's Odyssey.
Yeah, exactly.
So
You mean the new version or the original one? They just
That-
did
well, yeah.
re-release, remaster. Yeah,
what was it, like 5
Fun and
years ago?
tasteful. Yeah,
5,
it's
6
fun
years
and
ago.
tasteful.
That one I've played.
Yeah.
So
But basically, the controls are kind of, there is this delay between players' input and the main character's action, and we thought that this kind of reminds you of being the big brother, who controls the protagonist, and you are giving him orders, and there's delay. It takes some time before he takes the action, and the protagonist has his own mind. So yeah, we did that.
it's the Rockstar technique of when you do an input, the character takes forever to move.
Yeah.
From
So this is the first time that somebody called it Rockstar.
man,
Rockstar
what was the
technique.
first game that they did that in? Was it? It may have been Vice City.
Okay.
I think Vice City was the first one that, at least that I can remember, where the character didn't immediately move.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously it blew up in Red Dead 2. Everybody's like, "Oh, it takes so long to move." I'm like, "Well, that's
Yeah, and now imagine the same in platformer,
yeah."
Yeah, and in some action sequences. So, so yeah, this was kind of as I was saying, this was controversial because people are used to having really, really precise, tight controls like Celeste, what Celeste did,
Yeah.
And this goes like in the opposite direction, and it makes the main character feel as it's really heavy. He cannot do any double jumps or dash in the air or something like this. He's kind of like real person. And from Oddworld, we also were inspired regarding UI, because if you remember Abe's Odyssey or Exodus, they had these scrolling screens fit into the levels. So we were trying to avoid having those out-of-the-place arrows that you can see in the games nowadays. They are just pointing in direction where you should go. We tried to build all those small hints into the levels, as they were part of the arenas and a part of the environment.
That's that idea is something that actually it's funny. The past 3 or 4 developers that we've talked to have mentioned kind of getting back to that. We're not just gonna give you like, hey, here's exactly what to do.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So
exactly.
it's kind of getting back to that idea of okay, this you still have to do something. You know, you guys didn't make the game so it holds somebody's hand to get them from A to B. It's
Exactly.
trial and error. It's figuring out, okay, you have to do this and look
Yeah.
for this.
Yeah, but mostly you can read the level, literally. Like you can see that there is a lever, a switch button that leads somewhere with a wire, and this wire is connected to the box. So if you press this button, push the lever, that the box will drop on you. But people will still be pressing those buttons and be wondering why they died. And we try to push them into getting slower and thinking, what does this mean, and getting more immersed into the environment.
Well, and I'm sure that the idea of the controls helps a lot because slowing it down, like if this was a Celeste or what's the Dead Cells, where you're constantly moving, you're planning your next 5 moves, and you have to hit them like precisely. With this, where it's slower, so you have a chance to look and see, oh, this says that, there's this lever, instead of just like, okay, I need to get from point A to point B as fast as possible. Since you slow it down, it gives people a chance to, okay, look, read the term "smell the roses." It gives you a chance to, kind of soak everything in, instead of, I see videos of people playing like Dead Cells or Spelunky or some of those other like kind of fast platformers, and I'm like, obviously they know exactly where to go, but why? In the back of my head, I'm going, okay, well then why did the people spend so much time on the art? Because they know people are just flying through these levels.
Yeah, you are right about that. That's why we also thought that it might be better to have the character walk by default, and if you want him to run, you need to press a button. He's not running by default. He's walking. That's his default state.
Well, if we're talking about it being a fairly realistic character, who wants to run everywhere?
Yeah.
New age gamers. That's true.
I know the vast majority of people, including myself, would just like to walk everywhere. Like,
Yes.
we're not gonna Naruto run from point A to point B. I'm gonna take my time walking somewhere. So, yeah, as you were saying, this guy being realistic in the sense that he doesn't have a double jump. There's no dash. There's the limitations of the character being a real person instead of a video game character.
Exactly.
Him just like, you know what? I don't want to run everywhere, so you and I, we're gonna have to make a compromise. So yeah, you're gonna have to do something for me to run.
Yeah, exactly. And you literally sometimes need to push him to do something, because the gameplay mechanics are basically based on sacrificing and hurting others. And we wanted for the player to feel it, that the person who's doing those decisions is the player, and he's pushing the main character to do this. And because nowadays in most of the games you have those Goombas, you just jump on their heads and they vanish, and poof, they are gone. And you don't think, hey, what if Goomba had a family? So we thought, like, what if we had just a limited number of NPCs that would keep reappearing in the game, and they would react on your behavior? Because you have your own agenda. Everybody has their own agenda. All of you want to get to the other side of the wall. You all have your own motivations. but your own personal motivation is more important for you. But how far are you willing to go?
That's the next Mario game that we're gonna get. Is it's no longer Mario the main character. It's Goomba, number 5,342, and it's just his daily life. Like it's gonna be the city level from Odyssey, and the Goomba just walking around.
Yeah. You can see him waking up in the morning, brushing his teeth.
Time to go to work.
Kisses the wife and goes
And just walks back and forth, and then all of a sudden there's just this incredibly short Italian American plumber dressed in red with overalls and just jumps on his head.
Yeah, so Mario will be the villain in this part.
There's somebody's we just pitched somebody's game, so
yeah, I can imagine it will be produced in China tomorrow. So.
Well, maybe not right now, but
Next week.
yeah, maybe later in the year.
But you can see how indie games basically evolved from these games that were supposed just to be fun, for the players. And more of the games are talking about deeper topics, where it's politics, or recently you could see the batch of games talking about mental illnesses. So it has totally changed.
Yeah, it's interesting to see, like, it's not just games, it's indie music, it's indie TV, it's indie movies. Indie games, they're all talking about kind of the same, or they're tackling the same ideas. They're tackling mental illness, they're tackling non-binary people in relationships, and like it's just stuff that AAA, mainstream, whatever you want to call it, media just doesn't tackle, because it's seen as divisive, or it's seen as controversial.
Yeah, it's super risky to do this, because if you have tons of employees, you need to feed them, you need to pay them, and you cannot risk. You just need to do what will please the mainstream audience, and like expressing some strong message will not, or is very risky to do. So we kind of got this power because we are a small team. This was one of our first games, so we got the power to take our chances and do whatever we wanted. We had like complete creative freedom, even though we had two publishers. They were fine with whatever we were doing.
Yeah, you don't have a conglomerate above you that is answering to shareholders and playing stock markets, where you're probably, I'm not going to say you won't see, but you're probably not going to see a game tackling mental health in a serious way from a Sony or a Microsoft studio right now, because that's still kind of it's still a touchy subject, which in a weird way it shouldn't be. Like it's something that luckily more and more people are talking about, and it's becoming becoming less kind of taboo to talk about. It's becoming, hey, we need to talk about this because it's a serious issue, especially here in the US, and I'm sure it is all across the world.
Yeah, what we basically noticed is, like, even if those companies join these kind of conversations, they're trying to tuck you in this idea of it's normal. It's like normal to be depressed. It's normal to be part of this kind of society with problems, instead of really focusing on solving those problems and trying to figure out what is the source of those problems. Because it's not normal to be depressed. You're depressed because of something, and something is happening to you, whether it's like corporate banality, or I don't know, like 9 to 5 hours, which extends to 8 in the evening, or doing 2 jobs. But like all these companies that you said, like, are held by shareholders, and for them this is topic that they can exploit, and still don't talk about the real issues and real problems behind. And I think that even when they're talking about it, it hurts more than not talking about it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, because the message gets lost.
Yes.
When a major corporation talks about it, like for instance, what was the name of the? It's gonna bug me now. There was I mean, like, in a weird way, the TV show Mr. Robot. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. Like, it kind of tackles the multiple personalities and the depression one can face, and it airs on USA, but you could see it, like, it toned down a lot of kind of what made it special in the first season. In the second and third, because you could feel NBC Universal telling USA, like, hey, we like the idea of the show, but you guys need to chill it on this dude's got multiple personalities, and that's his driving factor, because that's just something people aren't comfortable talking about.
Yes.
And then they get to the 4th season, and it's much more of kind of what it started with, and unfortunately I haven't finished season 4, but it's on my to-do list.
It totally reminds me Black Mirror. If you saw one of the first seasons, it was really dark, this like European bad ending TV show, and the 4th and 5th season that is on Netflix, it turned into this happy Disney kind of show where there is Miley Cyrus on one of those on one of the episodes, and it's like complete bullshit now.
Yeah,
I
remember
thing.
like I remember Black Mirror. It started as like it wasn't BBC. It was,
I think it was BBC.
ITV, or was it BBC? And it was a British channel conglomerate. And then, like, so obviously they tackled a lot of the news stories that happened. Channel 4 that happened to the UK and to Europe, and then they bring it to the States, and Netflix takes it over, and like you said, it kind of went to this. It went from the like, hey, we're going to talk about the first episode is incredibly dark and graphic, and then we get to this like weird sci-fi black and white robo-dogs like anthology episodes.
Not hurting anyone.
Dynamic. But like the last season was like, I couldn't watch it. Like, it was totally different show. Like watching TV, like Disney Channel. Not that I'm watching this, but
but after 10 in the evening, like when
it's really dark.
Yeah.
Disney Channel After Dark takes on a whole new meaning.
I remember there was this Baywatch nights or something like this, and it felt completely like this. It's still a Baywatch, but during nights. So So they encountered, I remember, some vampires or something. It was terrible.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we had a similar thing with the Ministry. I mean, because we were thinking we're talking about this regime and the game and everything that you need to that you're forced to compete in this kind of show and reality show that government is organizing, and we were talking a lot whether we should have some expected ending or how it should end, and the more we talked about it, the more we felt that this cannot have an ending. I mean, it should have endings, but not satisfactory ones, because the only way how to win this kind of reality is not participating in this kind of games. And we wanted to turn this even in the storytelling that you are part of this show, and the more you play, the more meaningless it becomes. Like that kind of you're losing plot. Why are you here, and what is your goal, and is your goal to win, or is your goal to escape, or what is expected from you? And that's kind of feeling we wanted to underline. And then when we went to different audiences in Europe, people kind of reacted positively, mainly positively. But then, for example, you have this other part where the younger generation that got used to this producers being the main guys in the art making, and they expect you to have happy endings, or I don't know, guns blazing, bomb destroying of the wall and regime and everything. So even we were conflicted what we should do, like what is the 21st century take on this story.
I will say I'm glad you guys went with the you stuck with the realism, in the sense that if this were to truly happen, there's if there was truly a game show in which you had to escape, like, there's no happy ending. There's no, like, it's either the guy dies, the guy escapes, or he's just completely changed.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
that would be the
ending.
Now you spoil the endings too.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe it's not.
Yeah, I mean, like, in a weird way, like, the perfect ending to this would be it just stops.
Yeah,
like it fades to black with the character walking.
Still walking.
And it's up to you to decide: does he get to the wall? Does he escape? Does he, if he escapes, will his family take him back? Like,
we wanted to give this kind of feel to the players, where because they're playing the games, and they're playing this game, and they're participating in kind of reality show that it's happening every day on Steam, where like you have I don't know, like 400 games per day published, and we wanted to have that you are in control, you have controller, you don't need to play our game, you don't need to participate in this, but still, like somehow we felt that that people want to have catharsis at the end, that this is not enough that they're in control, that's not the catharsis enough, that they still want to hear nice stories and to identify with the characters, and they want to hear happy ending, I guess, because like you said, there is no ending, and you can turn off the game in any time, and that's the ending for you. But I still think that that because of everything that we talked now today, like about this cultural changes and stuff, and not talking about the issues and everything, and being constantly politically correct, you still expect that good will prevail, and somebody will just tell this story.
Yeah, I'll say this as kind of a closing to this, in terms of a story that you don't get the end. To me, is honest. Like the best example of this is a game that is highly regarded for its story. It's The Last of Us.
Mm.
Like that game ends on an open ending.
Yes, that's true. But even their ending was really controversial one.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of people were like, it got people talking.
Yes.
Like controversy is good to. It's what's the saying? Any news is like any press is good press, right? When you're talking about something that you're releasing, because even if it's bad, it's still getting people talking about your game. It'll get people to check it out. In a weird way, it's how Donald Trump became a president.
Yeah, exactly.
He was just controversial enough that people started to look at him and started to, he started to take over the airwaves. And now we're 4 years into this experiment, and
Well, you have another chance soon. So.
well, I'll put it this way: it doesn't look good.
Yeah.
If only there is button like press R to restart.
Yeah.
Try again.
Try again.
Yeah, can we just hit the fail screen, please, and restart from last checkpoint? And... Yeah.
But honestly, we feel the same in the Czech Republic, and I talked to the guys from UK, and they also thought like, "Hey, we have Brexit coming soon," So everybody can say something about his own country.
Yeah, I think the entire world just wants to be like, okay, like we just need to hit reload from last checkpoint. Let's hop back a little bit, try this all over again.
Yeah, we need to hit the low button, to realize how good basically the life at the moment is.
Yeah.
That the political correctness is the only issue basically you have.
Yeah, in a weird way. So, we'll everybody can go check out Ministry of Broadcast on Steam. It's $15. Or if you're here in the States, that's 3 visits to Starbucks. That's become my my plea to people listening. Is like, hey, just don't go to Starbucks for like however many times.
Yeah, maybe we can create like 3 different sizes of games.
Or just put the codes on Starbucks cups.
Yeah, exactly. That's not bad marketing thing.
Can I order a Ministry of Broadcast in a venti?
Yeah. Double cap.
Can I get that with skim and stevia instead of real sugar?
Make your own game. That's actually a nice nice concept for the next one. Choose elements. You want to have narrative, or you want to have a Super Mario plot.
We're pitching everything today. We've pitched the next Mario game being just Goomba. What was it, like 5,342?
Yes.
Just his life, and now it's sell your game based on Starbucks. Different sizes, different options. There you go. And the sad part is
Colombia, or
the sad part is somebody will take those 2 ideas and make a ton of money.
So if some publisher is listening, like Devolver, come to us.
Yeah. Go to the guys that made Ministry of Broadcast. Go to them, talk to them. They have the ideas. So Ubisoft or THQ, whatever their subtitle is now. I think it's still Nordic.
Yeah.
Or did they finally drop Nordic?
I don't know.
Today in THQ. Yeah, guys, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it was good to talk to you guys. Again, Ministry of Broadcast out on Steam now. Is it Are there plans for it to make a journey to either Switch or PS4
Yes.
or Xbox?
Yeah, we're gonna be on Switch during April, and at the moment you can pre-order even the physical release boxes in steel box and classical. I think the pre-orders are only for steel boxes, and they're sexy as hell.
That's awesome that you guys are doing steel boxes. Those were my jam back in like the PS3 era. I got like every game that I wanted. I paid the extra like $15 or $20 just to get the steel box, and I've got like 6 or 7 of them. And then they kind of went away, but now they're making a comeback.
Yeah, people like them, and we do as well.
Yeah. So yeah, go check it out. You can pre-order it for Switch. It's on PC. It's on Steam. Yeah, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This podcast was a product of the SWW show. You can find more at the SWWshow.com or Facebook.com/the SWW store or Twitter.com/SWW. You can find out more about Mike at Mikey_Maroney on Twitter and more about AJ at LoC4 on Twitter. Remember, new episodes come out twice a month, one focusing on the new entertainment news and one focusing on movie club, so new and an old movie. You can find out more again at the SWWshow.com. And you can find the show on podcast services around the globe.